Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee where I live. I'm an Old and New Testament believer. I'm a Levite, which means I'm a Jew. I'm in Judah, and I'm a descendant of Aaron, a Kohanim, and a lot of you don't want to listen to somebody like me. I understand that. I'm used to it. And today is the 11th of October. It's a Friday. It's 8:30 in the morning, and our weather is getting more reasonable, I guess you could say. 71 degrees now, and the high will be 88, but it won't hit that until probably mid-afternoon. So I have the little dogs outside now. I'll have to go back and get them in a little bit, but maybe not until after the broadcast. And we're going to be staying with highs in the 80s for a while, so it's possible we're out of the heat. Now that this is your golden period when you don't have the heat and you don't have the rain, hopefully we get 6 to 10 weeks of that. I have no idea what it'll be. All right, so what we're going to cover today is, and this I saw it was brought up on social media. Will Israel attack Iran on Yom Kippur, which begins tonight? Now, again, I want to remind you the rabbis don't follow the correct biblical calendar. Their calendar is all the way out in no man's land. The Bible says that the months, you call the month by seeing the new moon sliver appear. So you can't really accurately tell what's what until the new moon sliver appears, but they predict the holidays out many years in the future, which is absurd. And their calendar is approximately 250 years wrong. So let's, not pay attention to that too much, but they're calling Yom Kippur beginning tonight. So it coincides with Shabbat, which makes it easier on the people that don't follow the Talmudic rabbinical calendar because you don't have the country shut down an extra period of time. So in other words, all the businesses are many businesses in Israel now close on Friday and Saturday. That's rather common, but we're not going to be inconvenienced with everything shutting down for an extra day because it's going to be shut down for the Shabbat. So that's a little saving grace for us. Moving forward, I'll break down, can Israel do this on Yom Kippur? What would the rabbis say? And remember, Israel did get attacked once on a Yom Kippur. So we'll discuss, is this really something we could see happen? And the bottom line on that is yes, and I'll explain it to you as we go. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise now. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 I didn't have enough time to pursue it, but I was reading something today that the 1776 King James Bible has the names of the Lord better than the other ones or something. I don't think so, because the 1611 is pretty much the same as the one that we normally encounter, which is the approximately 1880s King James. So I don't think there's anything to that. You got to go to the Hebrew to understand it. Okay, I'm gonna go jump into the live stream. Well, I gotta turn the brightness down on this. I was outside and I had it all turned up and it's too bright inside. Okay, I'm gonna go into the live stream and make sure that we have sound and picture. I'm a little early today. I got up early and went outside to wait for the sun to come up and got an early start here. I'm going to let these people post their nonsense in the chat because it helps with the YouTube algorithm. There's more interaction. If they put up false prophecy, I'll take it down. Or bad things like curses or foul language or something, I'll take it down. But they have nonsense calling me grandpa and stuff like that. I just can leave it up. It helps the algorithm. They're helping me. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of quick posts in the chat really quick while we wait for people to come in. I'm a little early today, so it may take people more time to figure out I'm online. And I'm just going to put my email address up. Okay, that's done. On my Telegram, I put up an article. It was a YouTube video of some guy. He's pretty good. He doesn't talk about Bible or prophecy at all. And he said that there's been in the last few days a lot of reports of people in the United States getting their bank accounts frozen. It seems that it's triggered by people doing a cash withdrawal, even as little as $700-800. And in some cases, they just hand you the money and then they report it, the teller reports it as a suspicious transaction, and they freeze your bank account, and you got to go in with extra pieces of ID and prove where your address is. This is fairly stupid. Why are they doing it? Well, one reason is the government is bothering them about this. All these measures never help stop terrorism. Not at all. It's like gun control. Does that help the people? No, this doesn't help the people. It hurts the people. Once you run back there with an extra piece of ID and proof of address, they unfreeze your bank account 2 days later. So you could have your account frozen for 3 or 4 days. And is this because they want to build up the bank's reserves? I don't think so. I think they're trying to make it extremely unpopular for people to take cash out of the bank. So it could be that they don't want people taking their money out of the bank. If you write checks, I guess they normally don't worry about that. Or if you use your debit or credit card, they don't. But this is pretty sad. Um, and nobody, speaks up about this. The churches are not going to sit there and tell the people, call your congressman and insist that this stop. You know, there's, I don't know what, 50 million people that go to churches with their families in the United States. And if they all started calling their congressman, it would stop within days. The church never teaches you to do anything like that. They don't want the church empowered. They don't want that. Okay? They work with the government. That's why the government lets the pastors opt out of Social Security, which is really a bad deal. So you should bear that in mind. I covered a story yesterday about Israel with a new fighter jet. Okay, this guy got me with clickbait. I was telling you, I never heard of this in Israel. All right, I found out what the root of this is. The guy was doing clickbait, but not 100%, maybe 75%. There's a F-15XE fighter jet that Israel's ordered 50 of in pulls of 25. And this is some really fantastic F-15. It is not a stealthy jet. It hangs a lot of weapons and fuel tanks under the fuselage and the wings, so you can't get that stealthy, okay? Unless they figure out how to make the missiles and the bombs stealthy, which is possible, I suppose, but I don't think they're there yet. This jet is being sold to Israel, and they're redoing the jet as is their custom, and they're calling it an F-15AI. It's the F-15XE. So Israel's not constructing its own jets from ground up, and it'd be a stretch to say they're modifying an existing jet, although they are. But their modifications are usually, they have this 360-degree helmet the pilots wear. We sell them to America. And it enables them to, in a virtual, like hologram type thing, see 360 degrees around them. So they could see threats in the form of an incoming missile or a fighter jet from an enemy or something like that, right? By just looking forward. They don't have to look down at a screen, they just look forward. I had a Corvette many, many years ago that had a holographic display, and it was pretty cool. It was probably overall the best sports car I had, and I had the Porsche Turbos, 2 of them. I had BMW M3s, 2 of them. I had a lot of these things. This was probably the best. But what I didn't like about it, it was in Florida and it was hot. And it had a convertible top that was not electric. So when you went, let's say, to the store, the supermarket, the mall, whatever, right? And you had your top down, then when you stopped, and I used to like to put the top down and blow the air conditioner at the same time when it was hot. And what you would do is you would get out of the car, and then you had to open the back compartment where the top is, put the top up, because the car was so low, and I'm not small, I pretty much had to go sit down on the seats inside the car and push the latches to close the top, and then I had to manipulate the windows to come back up, put the cover in the back, and then lock the car up. It was, to me, a pain in the neck. And a lot of cars had convertible tops that were electric. Also, I couldn't get a stick shift. I got an automatic with it. But anyway, it was really a better. I never bought Ferraris and Lamborghinis because they were pieces of junk. I had friends that had them, and they'd go take the car out to dinner on Saturday night and break down and ruin their night and have to get a tow truck at night. And where you're going to go to tow the car to? I mean, these cars are toys. I got the Porsche turbos I was buying, and they were real cars, very fast, and you could use them like a real car. They worked like a regular car. They weren't really unreliable. And the BMW M3s was the same way. It was a reasonably fast car. It had a back seat. It had an electric top with the convertible. The problem with that, and I never found out about it till I I had the car for a while, and it had no spare tire. It had these. They gave you a can of that stuff you could put in your car and drive for a while. I mean, that was a stupid car. And then I think I traded that one in, and I got another one later on that actually had a collapsible spare, an M3 also. This is when I was in the world and I was working and I was doing okay. So the Corvette, the holographic display projected certain dials and gauges out in front of you, like where you'd look through the windshield. It had, you could change the settings. You could put, I remember I used to put a speedometer and a tachometer up there. And there were other gauges you could rotate. So you could just stare through your windshield and see your gauges without having to take your eyes off and look down. I suppose that would be useful at 140 miles an hour, but it was kind of fun. And that's sort of what happens with this helmet they give the pilots that's wired into the jet's operating systems. So he doesn't have to, when he's flying, he doesn't have to take his eyes from straight ahead and go start looking at gauges inside the cockpit. And it also gives him a 360 view, so he doesn't have to start turning and twisting and all that, if he wants. So it's really a very, very good system. And then they're also wiring the plane in with cybersecurity. It could be in contact with other planes nearby, like an AWAC or the jets, convey information to them, get information from them, and all sorts of good stuff. And they're not going to talk about everything else it does. Why is Israel buying these? Well, because they carry something like 27,000 pounds of weapons or extra fuel tanks. Huge amount. Not stealthy. Also, it goes, depending on who you talk to, 2,500 to 2,700 miles an hour. It's extremely fast. So it's not stealthy. When you have a stealth jet, you have to keep all your fuel tanks and your weapons inside the jet, in the fuselage, to maintain the consistency of the stealthiness. Okay? So how Israel would use these is to use the F-35s, which we're sitting on about 50 of them, that are stealthy, and Iran can't pick them up. Now, what Iran might pick up, best case, and I don't even know if they could do this, is they'll know that in their airspace there is a bogey flying around, okay? But they're not able to get a precision position on it. It's my understanding they could get within 25 miles of where the jet actually is with their radar. They might not even be able to do that, okay? That would be something that like Russia or China could pick up, or the United States or the UK, all right? So they don't pick it up. They possibly don't pick it up at all, but maybe they do. But they can't get a missile lock on it, okay? It doesn't work because you can't send any kind of anti-aircraft missile up if you're miles away from the target, let alone 25 miles. Even if you were 2 miles from the target, it wouldn't work, or 1 mile. Okay? So if they can detect that something's in their airspace, which I'm not sure they can or cannot, it could cause them to go blow the sirens and have people take cover. That it could do. If they have jets on the runway, they could order the jets to take off so they don't get bombed on the runway. You know, they could get some type of advantage on that, but they're not going to get a missile lock. The same with a fighter jet. They're not going to be able to get a missile lock and fire an air-to-air missile at it. Okay. So the F-35s would be used to attack the radar, and that would mean no anti-aircraft systems operating because they need radar. And after they get rid of the radar, then the F-15s could come in heavily loaded with bombs. The F-15s could put extra fuel tanks on and stretch the range of the plane substantially. Okay, it may not need a refueling tanker going from Israel to Iran. It may be able to attack Iran and then refuel on the way out or something like that. I'm not sure. The way that Iran would detect a attack coming would more than likely be with the help of Russia to detect the refueling tankers. Okay? Israel does not maintain a fleet of long-range bombers like Russia. But again, remember, long-range bombers are not stealthy. They could how could Israel take them out? One, using any one of a number, if it's ground-to-air missiles, like David's Sling or the Arrow 2 or other missiles. They could also shoot it down with air-to-air missiles from F-35 fighter jets, so that the long-range bomber wouldn't know or wouldn't be able to get a missile lock on the F-35, and it would shoot missiles at the long-range bomber and blow it up. So we don't maintain those, okay? Russia has them, America has them, China, I believe, has them. I'm not sure if the UK has them. They might have a handful or something, I don't know. So a long-range bomber, the advantage is it doesn't have to refuel. The other advantage is you could keep it in the air for a long time. I don't know, I guess it varies. Maybe they get 12, 18 hours, or I don't know. It's probably something like that, without refueling. So if you're in a stressful situation and an attack might break out, you could have your airplane, your long-range bombers loiter, 100 or 200 miles away from the target where they're safe, and if need be, they go over target and bomb. But they're a vulnerable aircraft. Okay? That's the problem with the long-range bombers. Now, the American versions, B-1, B-2, are stealthy, and they can go a considerable distance as well and carry a lot of ordnance. So that's different, but we don't have any of those. The only need that we see we would have for that is attacking Iran. However, I don't believe America sells the B-1 and B-2, but the F-15s have that substantial payload, so a handful of those can drop a tremendous amount of ordnance. And this was probably what we used when we hit Nasrallah in near Beirut, Lebanon, a couple of weeks ago, when we dropped 85 bombs. It likely was these F-15s. Now, America, the last 2 days, I think, just sent 6 of these F-15s. I believe they were the XE into the Middle East. They came with refueling tankers. Now, it might have been more than 6. It's entirely possible and even likely that America gave an early delivery to Israel of some of these jets. Okay? For knocking out Iran. Now, it's still a rather serious battle to hit the underground bunkers, of which Iran has 5, and conservatively speaking, they're something like 90 feet underground, and they've got massive amounts of reinforced concrete. Okay? Um, but it's conceivable with the tonnage that these F-15s could carry that we could use the F-35s to knock out the radar, which we did months ago when we went into Iran. Their radar may still be down. Knock out the radar. They used the Russian S-300, S-400, which are not very good at all. Knock those out. I mean, Ukraine dances through those all the time without any problem. So if Ukraine can defeat that, obviously Israel can. And we could drop much ordnance on these nuclear facilities underground, with bunker buses, boom, 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 just keep repeating it. And, these things are not the Superman's Fortress of Solitude or something, they're going to fall apart, you know. So, we could defeat the nuclear their nuclear facilities, whatever you want to call them, that are underground. But I don't think it's a high priority right now. It's got tremendous insulting propaganda value. Now, the Muslim media that backs Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas, and that Yemen are interested in eradicating Israel and killing the Jews, are constantly running stories about how, because I read this, about how Iran and Hezbollah and all the others are, Yemen, are demolishing Israel. It's bogus. They're not. They're not. The reason that I picked up that the Iran missiles got reasonably close to us is, and that means that the studies we conducted in Israel, not me, but the military, they were within a half a mile. So they could hit within a half a mile, which is pretty lousy because, like America and Israel and stuff, they'll hit within a few meters. Okay? So they'll hit the target within the length of a big SUV, or even maybe the length of a Volkswagen, even, Iran is a half a mile. Now, what I also picked up, and I think it could be true, is that Iran hacked our electronic warfare systems during or just before the attack. So we weren't able to mess up the precision of their missiles with our electronic warfare attacks on them. This may or may not be true. The IDF never said that. But it could be true, I don't know. If it is true, that means they got within a half a mile of their target with our electronic warfare not working. So if our stuff was working, it could be even worse. So Iran is trying to scare us and at the same time rally together the proxy states and their supporters that are interested in eradicating Israel. So they float phony stories. They're liars. Satan was a murderer from the beginning and the father of lies, and that's exactly how they behave. And Israel is precious little impressed with their lies. It's humorous, Israel. Okay. The thing that Iran did was it was attacking Israel constantly with the proxies, particularly Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And it was a bayonet in the back of Israel that was designed to tell Israel, if you're going to cut the head off the snake and attack Iran, our proxies are going to rain 1,000 or 2,000 missiles a day down on Israel day after day after day. Eventually, we're going to get damage, right? So, finally, well, this whole thing on October 7th was allowed to happen, okay? All our defenses were down and so forth. And, I'll review the story quickly with you. Biden didn't want Netanyahu visiting the White House and refused to let him come. And then in September 2023, around the beginning of the month, Biden said, yeah, Netanyahu could come to Israel. All of a sudden, an about face, right? On the 23rd of September 2023, Netanyahu goes and visits the White House. Okay, now many countries said that Israel was warned about this attack brewing on the 7th. Well, it was allowed to happen in my book. That's my opinion. And the reason it was allowed to happen, it was America that concocted this idea to get Israel really angry and go to town on Hamas, which they figured would bring the other proxies into play. And they figured that correctly. Okay? And the idea wasn't really to eradicate Israel, although America doesn't seem to mind Israel taking lots of bombs. Now, the missiles rather. And drones. Let me take you back in history. This is some things you may not be aware of. I think it was Clinton who did it. It could have been Carter, I don't remember. Made Israel give back the Sinai Peninsula. Okay, they forced it on Israel. Okay? Israel was weak back then. I think it was in the 70s. They were weak and they had to submit. And they gave it back. It had oil in it. They didn't want Israel pumping oil and having a good economy because then all the Jews would move here. So we gave it back to Egypt. And Egypt gave us a truce agreement, and Anwar Sadat got killed and all that. And he showed up at the meeting wearing a tie with a swastika on it and all this sick stuff, right? Okay. Then many years later, I think it was 2008, they forced us to give Gaza back. Now, when we gave Gaza back, America made a treaty with Israel to help defend Israel if this thing in Gaza turned into a, terrorist haven that started fighting against Israel. Yes, they made a treaty with us, and that's why they're giving us all the weapons, but they're not really. There's tremendous backlogs of these weapons that they don't want to give us. And that changes from week to week. Okay? Biden, I believe, was telling Netanyahu in secret, of course, look, we didn't do this, so you're going to go re-inhabit Gaza and move the Jews back in and wave the Israeli flag there. We don't want Israel to fulfill prophecy. We want the fake Israel. And as long as Netanyahu abides with the fake Israel narrative, he's okay in the eyes of the world, okay? So then comes withholding weapons, yelling and screaming about Israel and genocide. humanitarian aid, which made Israel drag the war out. Probably it would have been over in 3 months. It's now a year, basically. And, you know, it was idiotic. Okay, if Israel just no humanitarian aid, cut the electricity, cut the water, cut the internet, cut the phones, cut everything, by January 2024, it would have been over. No, Biden was scared to death that Israel was going to come out with a clean victory and occupy Gaza again. Okay, so then, as a result of defending against Gaza, the Hamas, Hezbollah and Yemen joined in. Now, Yemen threw a double whammy at the world by attacking shipping and also American Navy vessels on numerous occasions. They hit it with drones and missiles. They don't talk much about it, but it happened. I believe it really happened. And including an aircraft carrier that had to pull into port in Saudi Arabia and stay there a few days for repairs. And a destroyer, I saw the destroyer pictures of it in flames, unless it was a doctored video, which I don't think it was. So they definitely hit. I don't think they sank, although that destroyer maybe, but they hit American vessels. But they sank and damaged and many vessels belonging to other countries that were civilian going through the Red Sea, okay, carrying any kind of cargo with the pretext being, well, they were going to Israel or coming from Israel, and then they expanded it that if you had a line called, I don't know, Hague line or something like that for shipping container boats, and one of their boats came to Israel or left from Israel, every boat in the line that shipping line owns is a target, and we're going to attack them. So they basically ran, I guess, something like 80-90% of the shipping out of the Red Sea, which curiously hurt Egypt because one of Egypt's largest sources of revenue is collecting tolls from ships going through the Red Sea to the Mediterranean and vice versa, having to go through the Suez Canal to get access, Mediterranean, Red Sea access one way or the other. So the Houthis are still doing it. America and the UK have been attacking them with jets and hitting ports and piers and infrastructure. Israel's attacked them on 2 separate occasions substantially, and they keep going. That's the Muslim mentality. I'm either going to be a martyr or I'm going to win the war. Either way they think, they win. They don't. So that has irritated the world, and it was a little bit unexpected, but it was Iran, I think it was grossly unexpected, actually. And it got Iran to flex their muscles and tell America, look, I've got alliances with North Korea, China, Russia. I'm the king of the Middle East. I am it, not you, Biden, Khomeini. I run the Middle East. And that scares the daylights out of Biden. Now, this thing with BRICS, where they have the meeting October 22nd to the 24th, is really scaring the United States. First of all, now to be a member in BRICS, and they're going to bring new members in on the 22nd, you have to agree not to buy and sell your goods. Well, not to sell your goods in US dollar and probably euro also. And they're going to be introducing their digital currency, the blockchain, on October 22nd, probably opening it up for service, although that may not be the case. It very likely is the case. And the countries, there's 159 countries that have signed up that want to use this BRICS system because they could escape the American sanctions and fines and punishments. They no longer want to have an international banking system using SWIFT that's subject to American controls and sanctions. It's America, weaponizing the US dollar. There's another 12 states that are also agreeing not to use the dollar and usually the euro for 85% of their trade. I covered this in the last day or two. So this is going to wreck the value of the US dollar. Russia and Iran sell beaucoup oil, huge amounts, okay? Together they're huge. And they're in this blockchain thing to beat sanctions. And the two big buyers is China and Russia, and they're in, China and India, and they're in it, and they're the consumers. Now, this is not going to knock the dollar down by 3% or 5 or 8%. You're talking, give it a few weeks, it'll knock the dollar down 40, 50% or more. People are not, I know some of you don't understand the international economics, but the demand for the dollar will drop. And a lot of countries are going to be refusing to take dollars because they're not supposed to buy things using the US dollar. So what are they? Because they're in BRICS, or probably they're using the blockchain system. So what the heck do they do with the dollars? They're not much value. So people aren't going to want the dollar. So its value will drop. Of course, the demand goes down. But they're trying to bring the demand down probably by 50%, maybe more. Okay, so that's why America is gunning for Iran, and that's why October 7th happened. And that's why Israel's going to attack Iran. Now, everybody knows that when we attack Iran, Iran has said they're going to do all these horrendous things. They're trying to stop the attack. Now, Iran has also become paranoid, and they have in detention one of their highest ranking generals and the guy's staff, because they're maintaining that he was an Israeli agent. Now, is this guy an Israeli agent or not? I have no firm information. Does Iran think that he could possibly be an Israeli agent? Absolutely. The guy's being detained along with his staff, his whole organization. The officers and stuff are accused of working with Israel, specifically flagging the attack on the Hamas leader in Tehran in the guest house and other things. So they're saying that he was a double agent. Well, not exactly a double agent. He was a spy working for Israel. They turned him. Is this type of thing possible? Oh yeah, it's happened in the past. But like I say, I don't have any concrete information if it's true or not. I will tell you that Iran's been getting a lot of tossed salad from our people. And, endless tossed salad and whole enchiladas. And when they get cut off with communication with the unclean spirits, they get paranoid. That's the knee-jerk reaction for these guys. And this whole thing could be stemming from their paranoia, and they may want to increase their credibility with their satellites and supporting nations, so they don't want to show they're weak, so they take this guy, witch hunt him, and then they may execute him and his, officers. And that would send a signal to their supporting countries that, hey, we had a problem and we got rid of it, so now we're good to go. Will this cause a problem for well, it makes them show their faithful followers, which are very not faithful to Iran anymore. They say, "Oh yeah, look, we cured the problem. Now we're King Kong again, and we're dominating the Middle East." Well, you know that could be all this is. It's no matter how good the Mossad is, it's still pretty tall tale to get a top-ranking general to flip. Don't know. I don't know. Maybe, you know. Hamas and Hezbollah and the Iran-backed militias and even the IRGC are getting clobbered in Syria. Plus, they're getting obliterated in Gaza and Lebanon. It's a massive undertaking to demilitarize Hezbollah, and we're chipping away at it every day, every night, day and night. And it's just so much to be destroyed. It's rough. Um, it's rough. Israel just missed the targeted assassination in a building, and maybe they didn't really miss. Maybe they knew the guy wasn't there and they did the hit on the building anyway to let Hezbollah fall under the false assumption that they have eradicated their spies, because Hezbollah is also paranoid and on a witch hunt for spies in the organization. But in my opinion, Israel's relying considerably more on technology than it is, spies in that regard. Not to say that Israel wouldn't utilize spies, I don't mean that, but I think this is a little bit deeper than that. Oil up Gramps. Yeah, we'll leave this up. The guy wants to help me get more popularity with interaction with YouTube. Let him. Why do I think that their flag? I think their flag is incorrect in Israel, and they shouldn't use it. It's not a correct thing to do. There is no Star of David. Okay, I'll tell you something you probably don't know though, and I'll show you the official seal of the State of Israel. It'd be a second, I'll pull it up. This is the official seal of the State of Israel, and it's actually unknowing to them. Zechariah 4, the two olive trees, these are olive branches, and the seven candlesticks. This you find in Revelation 11 and Zechariah 4, the two witnesses. It's actually a testimony to the two witnesses, and I'm not sure they planned it that way. I seriously doubt that. So that is the official seal or signia of Israel. It says in Hebrew at the bottom, Yisrael. So it's your two olive trees and your seven candlesticks, which is the two witnesses. How about them apples? You didn't know that one, did you? And it's not the bright and morning star, it's the star of Rephaim, which is an evil demonic thing in the Bible. That's what they're using. It's worse than you're aware of. Let me take a look at something. I want to check something real quick. So again, any of you guys that feel good when you come in here and insult me, hey, insult me, help me, because it shows more interactions and it helps me with my algorithm with YouTube. So by all means, come in. I'm not going to block you. Keep putting it up. I need those interactions. It helps with YouTube. Why don't you hit the like button too while you're at it, guys? And if you really hate me, hit the dislike button. That counts too. That's a good interaction with YouTube. It doesn't matter. Okay. So now, would Israel hit Iran on Yom Kippur? Well, let's break this down. It's the high holiday, although their calendar was off, so it's not really the holiday in reality, but it's their high holiday. And the big one, that's the most important or the holiest to them. So, what you don't know about the rabbis, I need to explain to you. You can get a rabbinical exemption from observing a Shabbat or holiday if it involves saving or preserving life. So, can you work as a policeman, a fireman, a soldier, an emergency room doctor, a nurse in an ER, or something like that on Shabbat? Yes, because it's considered saving lives or preserving them, you know. So they could grant an exemption to the military and the government to do an attack on Iran on the high holy day, Yom Kippur. And that is, most of you wouldn't know that. I'm going to take a 1 minute break and come right back. So, yeah, it could happen, okay? Don't write that off because it's a high holy day. Now, is Iran going to have their guard down on Yom Kippur, thinking we'd never attack on Yom Kippur? Oh, it's possible. Israel is doing a bunch of things right now, cleaning out terrorism in the West Bank. Not all that much anymore, it's pretty much been done. And continuing to attack Gaza predominantly in the north, and attacking Hezbollah voraciously in Lebanon. We want to mitigate that risk, so if we get into an extended fight with Iran, we don't have to seriously worry about Hezbollah and Hamas. Okay? That is most likely the reason for the delay in the retaliation against Iran, is to eradicate the threats. In a way, Israel is having siege laid to it as per Zechariah 12, but we're going to see some different twists and turns in this. It's not necessarily the same siege, okay? But it could be. But we're in siege. A siege is an old term going back to what they call biblical days, although today is a biblical day too. The Romans, let's say, would surround the Greeks or something, would surround the country or city, and they would stop traffic going in and out. And they would attack it with arrows, fire arrows, catapults, things like that, and try to penetrate the borders while the sometimes they laid siege to a city that was fenced, and they would try to break the fence down, stuff like that. That's a siege. It would precede an invasion. Zechariah 12 is the next battle, and it's not Gog and Magog, not even close. It's Jacob's trouble. And that is your great reset. Now, they don't teach that, but a lot of them are switching away from Ezekiel 38 and 39 for today and going to Psalm 83 with Zechariah 12, but they're concealing all the truth in Zechariah 12 with the two witnesses that burn the enemy up on the right hand and the left, and that's in Zechariah 12 verse 6. They're trying to say it means the military of Israel, which is nonsense. It references two people. Okay. Which is Elijah and Apostle John, the two witnesses. So it would be reasonably fair to say we're in the beginning of the siege. It's not in its fullness. Now, going back to Yom Kippur, it's entirely possible that Iran could schedule another attack on Israel. See, I'm not leaning heavily that they're going to try that, but they might. And Yom Kippur is a good time to do it. Not that our guard's going to be down, because that's not the case at all. But it's insulting to the Jewish people. And they like that. Look, you get attacked with missiles on your high holiday. You know, it shows their Nazi behavior. Okay? So, could happen. If Iran was as strong and mighty as their mouth says they are, which they're not, they would do a preemptive attack on Israel of a massive magnitude to stop Israel from attacking them. Does that make sense? Sure. They're afraid to try it again. They've attacked Israel heavily 2 times in the last 6 or so months and never accomplished much either time. Now, I don't know what Israel's going to do to Iran, but Israel has created a lot of surprises for Hezbollah, particularly the pagers, then followed up with the walkie-talkies, the fingerprint scanners, the phones blowing up, killing Nasrallah's successor, killing the successor to Nasrallah's successor, killing the head of Hamas in Tehran. There's been a lot of surprises, okay? And they may have cooked up some surprise for Iran. The first attack on Iran has to be military targets, because they have to reduce the amount of retaliation Iran could deliver to Israel. Okay? Some military bases, missile launch sites, things like this have to be the first line of attack, I think. Radar, things like that. They may try to get Khomeini. That's going to be tough, but they might. Just getting Khomeini is not going to stop the fighting. It'll put them on, they'll go on tilt, but they'll keep fighting. So we got to hit them militarily. Hitting the oil facilities would cause a spike in oil prices that would cripple Europe and America. There would be such fear, prices would go from the $70, $80 to at least, I would say, at least $110, $120, maybe $150. People would get real scared. They buy oil futures for future delivery. They go out 30 days, 60, 90, even out to 180 days. And a lot of these companies that need oil will start buying futures at high prices just to have oil and stay in business. What does a container ship company do without oil? Nothing. What does a bus company do or a train company do without fuel? Nothing. They need fuel. So things are screwy. If we hit the oil, that's why Biden doesn't want the oil hit, okay? Because of the tilt the economy. Now, he doesn't want the nuclear stuff hit right now. First of all, Israel doesn't have the capability of doing it, I don't think, unless they use the F-15s and just pound them repeatedly. But it's also a lousy tactic to do at this point in time, and I think America's saving that attack for themselves. So Israel's going to attack Iran, and then Iran says they're going to attack all the oil producing countries in the Middle East, Qatar, Bahrain, probably not Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, probably, UAE, most likely, Saudi, Jordan. They won't hit Syria or Iraq or Lebanon. They won't hit Yemen. To do this, they'll utilize their proxies, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and they'll probably be rather successful at hitting the refineries and the piers and the ports where they offload the oil and the gas onto ships. And that will throw America and Europe and other countries into economic chaos because the amount of shortages in oil is going to be excessively large, and the price rise is going to be quite high. Iran might be thinking that's going to work to their advantage because in a few days they'll have BRICS online and they could sell oil and gas at higher prices. China and North Korea don't care because they'll get oil and gas at sweetheart deal prices from Iran and Russia. Russia's having lots of trouble with Ukraine, and I don't think Putin has any intention of opening up a second front in the Middle East. I don't think he can. And if he starts fighting against Israel, Israel's going to do things for Ukraine that Putin won't believe. Israel will go fly missions for Ukraine with F-35s. A week of that, and Putin will be upside down and inside out. So, is it possible that we attack Iran and Iran attacks us tonight? Tonight is when Yom Kippur starts. Let's just round it off to sundown tonight. It's 24 hours. Sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night, Israel time. So, yeah, there's a risk both ways. A high risk. Really high. I think the American plan is let Israel hit Iran, and I think they want Israel to hit the missile systems because they don't want to see Iran blowing up the UAE and Saudi and Kuwait and Bahrain and all these guys, missile refineries, ports and piers, storage tanks and so forth. And it's actually a good approach to it. I think it's near impossible that we're going to get all their missiles and prevent them from getting launches, but it appears to me they'll get some launches off. They can be taken down. Now, Iran is reiterating if any country like Saudi, Jordan, UAE takes down missiles coming to Israel or drones, that they'll consider them an ally of Israel and attack them. They also said that if any of these countries allow Israel to use their airspace, they'll attack them. They also said if Israel attacks Iran, they'll attack these other countries. So Iran is getting very, very paranoid. Okay? I don't know where the Truman aircraft carrier strike group is, but it has to be in the theater by now. And I don't think the festivities would start until that was here. So they have one aircraft carrier group in the Sea of Oman right near the Persian Gulf, and I think the other one will go near Lebanon. What Iran is doing is bullying the other countries in the Middle East. And they don't like it. And they don't trust Iran either, because look how Iran treated Hamas and Hezbollah. And Yemen had 3 port cities blown up by now. 3. So they don't want to suffer that fate. America doesn't want to see Iran exert that sort of influence on the Middle East, because eventually they'll make these oil countries cut their production back to create a crisis for America and NATO, or just force them to sell the oil and gas in not euro and not dollar currency, and begin breaking down America to a third world country economically. Which is the way they want to do it, because America will be basically in bad shape and they didn't get bombed or lose their military assets. You can't analyze this without taking into account the sleeper agents, which are numerous. And that's a real problem for America. And Biden's sort of in gaga land, and he's not really going to understand that, nor will none of his administration is showing evidence of being, bright. They're just bureaucrats. Obama, in my opinion, never had his, he was never wrapped too tight. He was always goofball. Trump is not in office. The election hasn't occurred yet. And Trump has absolutely no power at this point in time. He has influence to some extent, but he has no power. I think the progression is Israel will start striking Iran. Iran will retaliate. And depending what they do, America will get in on it. If they attack the other Muslim states that sell a lot of oil, America will jump in and attack Iran quickly and hard. And these other states will probably contribute missiles and drones and aircraft as well. It'll be a concerted effort to get rid of Iran, while their proxies are weak, although I'm not so sure how weak the Houthis in Yemen are, but the other proxies are weak. And it's a golden opportunity, because Russia's otherwise occupied. It's a massive undertaking for China to get involved in the Middle East. I don't think you'll see it. Not right now. They need a secure operating base, and Iran's not secure. So they could operate with ships, but that's real dangerous for them because we got stealth jets. So I think Iran is basically reduced to sending weapons to, China is reduced to just sending weapons to Iran. Same with Russia. I could be wrong, and they could send large naval fleets, but I don't think so. They know America's not going to let them invade the Middle East and take over because it would be the destruction of America economically. We'll have to wait and see how Israel actually does do the attack. Maybe Israel will blow the phones up, their cell phones and their communication devices. I don't know. Maybe they'll do a targeted assassination on the Khomeini. And let's say he's in a bunker or a building, just blow that building up and kill him, and that's it. Stop the attack, see what happens. What will happen is Iran will retaliate for that. I don't know when, but they will. I think Israel's going to go for broke on this one. Hang on a second. Well, I researched the Star of Rephaim. Somebody wrote me about that. You could look that up in the Bible, and you could go on the internet and just dig around. The 6-point star is a demonic image. You could search in the Bible for the Star of David. It doesn't exist in the Bible. So I can tell you, just hit the research and you'll get to the bottom of it. It's not of any great major consequence. Look at the U.S. flag. It has 50 demonic pentagrams on it. So do a lot of the flags of the world. They're pentagrams. They're demonic symbols. So it's old hat. Let me see what's cooking in the chat if I'm getting questions. See, when I grew up, people used to say, respect your elders. Boy Scouts used to help old people cross the street, help them carry their packages when they cross the street, stuff like that. Today, young people make fun of old people, me being an old people. They just mock me. Grandpa, what are you doing on a live stream? Oil up, get off the air. They're very nasty. This is a symptom of the times. Okay. It's also an indication of how they don't think right. Are they planning on dying young and never becoming old? Or do they just block it out of their mind that one day they might be old? See what I'm saying? Very, very poor thought process with these people. Iran has not yet gotten her payback. Gaza and Hezbollah are getting theirs. And they'll get theirs too, Iran. And the militias in Syria and Iraq also. So, Jeremiah 49, the last several verses, explains Elam. Elam is composed of parts of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. It says Elam will be destroyed. That would mean Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And it gets destroyed so bad the people leave the country, scatter amongst the nations of the world, all of them, and the sword chases them where they go. And they get killed. And that's what they want to do to Israel, run the Jews out of Israel and then persecute them around the world. But it happens to them, not us. And we're in the time or the year of recompenses. We're in it now, and Iran's going to get it. Do I think Israel's going to look like scorched earth? No, not at all. I can't really find any scriptures that tell me Israel's going to get obliterated from these attacks. Nothing. Damage, obviously we're taking damage, but the amount of people getting killed is extraordinarily low, miraculously low. And we read that Elam will be destroyed, Iraq, Syria, and Iran. Those are proxies. Iraq yesterday started threatening the American bases again, saying they'll hit the American bases. So if Israel hits Iran, which is about 99.9% going to happen, Iran will likely, them and their proxies will hit all the American bases in the area. But it's more than Iraq and Syria. They got 5,000 soldiers in Kuwait. They got a few thousand in Bahrain. They've got about 5,000 in the UAE. I don't know if they have any in Oman. They have, I would say, at least 5,000 in Georgia, in Jordan, probably 10 or 15,000 realistically. And in Saudi Arabia, at least 5,000. So they're going to hit the American bases there. Then they're going to hit the oil refineries. They're going to go nuts. Iran is psychotic, and they're believing their own lies. This is a problem with crazies. They start to believe their own lies. Okay? I think Iran regrets the attack it made against Israel, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. But now what do? They don't know what the next act is. Wait for an attack and hope for the best. Do a preemptive attack against Israel. Try to scare the world into making Israel stop. They can't work with Biden. There's no camaraderie. They don't get along. What do? They got themselves into something they can't get themselves out of. If they had themselves a good air force of 300 or so planes, even F-16s, F-15s, F-14s, F-35s, not Russian crap, real good planes, and they had themselves a couple aircraft carriers, 8 or 10 modern destroyers, 8 or 10 good submarines, 8 or 10 good missile cruisers, they'd be in a better position. But they don't have any of this stuff. They're not in a good position. Like it says in Jeremiah 49, the bow of Elam will be destroyed, which is the chief of their might. The chief of their strength, the bow. What does a bow do? This is your arrow. You put it in there and you let go. Boom. The bow is the missile launcher, and the arrow is the missile. These are all, this is trying to explain what's going to happen using Roman war type, Roman era war terminology, okay? If you use the word, ballistic guided missile, a few thousand years ago, 4,000 years ago, who the heck would understand it? So God put it in language that the people of that day were using. God wasn't revealing to them ballistic guided hypersonic missiles, artillery shells, mortars, stealth jets, submarines. It wasn't revealing that back then. Okay. So Iran's going to get their head handed to them. How much damage they do to Israel, my guess is minimal. Very minimal loss of life, if any. And they're going to go down. Along with Iraq and Syria. We're going to hit the American bases, and Biden is going to pop his cork. They're not going to just hit Iraq and Syria bases, they're going to go after the oil producing countries, and America is going to get into the fight aggressively. And Iran's going to learn a very harsh lesson about American and Israeli weapons, along with Iraq and Syria. Then I believe Hezbollah and Gaza will fold, Yemen will be destroyed, America and a lot of countries will just finish Yemen off, because they're just a pain in the neck cutting out the shipping. They're just going to get bombed, bada boom, bada bang, boom, 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 and it'll be defunct. It's going to be a trash heap. Edom will be a trash heap. Edom is Yemen. It's also called Taman in the Hebrew Bible, but it's the same. It's Yemen, and it'll be look like Gaza. It'll be a real trash heap. Okay. And that's the scriptures. It's not going to do well. It's going to be messed up. And then you're going to see Elijah and the temple in Malachi 3. And he'll be training the Levites, burning the dross out of them to make the offerings acceptable to the Lord. Now, there's going to be Hamas and Hezbollah left behind in Lebanon and Gaza. They're not going to get completely exterminated, okay? They're going to rise up with the siege. The real siege is going to come after that. Because, here you got the two witnesses working in Jerusalem, and there's a temple there. And this temple actually comes down from heaven. It's not New Jerusalem. Read Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses. This temple signifies to the heathen that God has made the Israelites holy. If it was a temple built by a bunch of rabbis, it would never have that effect. And this brings the blessings of the law on Israel. It also says we'll have the tabernacle again. And if you read 2 Maccabees chapter 2, it explains that, and it lines up very well with Zechariah 1 and 2. We're in the year of recompenses, and it's over the controversy of Zion. Now, the day of vengeance is Zechariah 12:10, well, 12:6, and it'll probably be It's also Jeremiah 30:11, where the Bible says, and this is in the time of the travail, the birth of a nation in a day. And that's the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, when the people see him, and God pours his Spirit out on them previously in Zechariah 12:10. Now they're believers, they see him, and in John 6:40, those that believe and see him shall have everlasting life. And then you got Isaiah 60, arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Darkness has covered the earth, gross darkness, the people. You know, all these scriptures I've taught you. Okay, so I think we're going to see a breakup in these attacks. All right? And it's going to give Elijah a chance to work with the Levites in the temple. Because when we read Malachi 3, we don't read of missiles and stuff coming and drones coming down with the temple there and, you know, trying to kill Elijah and stuff like that. And then when the nations see what's really going on with Elijah in this temple, and the people having, you know, serving Jehovah in Jerusalem, well, they're going to have, Satan's the God of this age. The age is not over until Yeshua appears in the cloud. It says this age and the age to come with everlasting life. Well, the everlasting life begins in Zechariah 12:10, when they look upon the one whom they have pierced. Previously in Zechariah 12:10, at the beginning, God's Spirit is poured out on them, so they're believers and they see him. And then Revelation 1:7, every eye shall see him, all around the world. So the believers, the real believers, not the ones that just go to church, they're also going to have this everlasting life. And then they're going to come to Israel, and that's timed with the destruction of the daughter of Babylon in Jeremiah 50:51, and the people leave and go to Israel. Those of you that survived the sword, let Zion come to mind. And we're going to see America do bad things to Israel. It says we'll do evil in your sight. That would mean in Israel. So they're going to really get mad too. When they see Elijah and Apostle John working and the miracles and the temple from heaven, they're going to do what? They'll start taking Zoloft from Prozac pills the size of baseballs. They won't know what to do. The unclean spirits aren't gods. They're dethroned. They're defrocked. They don't have powers and stuff like that. Not anything meaningful. They're kind of worthless. They're demented. They're crazy. And that's why the people that serve them are crazy. And confused and deluded. Okay? The scripture is deceiving and being deceived. The demons teach them to deceive others, which is a sin. It's lying and everything else, right? And that allows them to, they're giving more ground to the unclean spirits, and they take them over and they become wacko. And they don't make sense. They dedicate their whole lives to serving the unclean spirits, who are just using them to stay out of the pit as long as they can. So what they do to the people that are their victims that fall prey to them is basically what's going to happen to them. Again, the old reap what you sow principle, which is always in the Bible, and it always comes true. It's old because it goes back many, many, many centuries, but it's still very, very real. And America used Israel as a proxy, like they use Ukraine. But Ukraine's not Israel. So Ukraine took all kinds of missiles. People, millions of people left Ukraine, buildings and everything getting destroyed and all that. Well, the same thing in Israel. Not to that extent, but that's what they're doing, playing Israel as a pawn, as a proxy state to get where they want to be with Iran. They can't just wake up one day and say, you know, Biden gets on the TV, I mean, Trump might do something like this. Biden gets on the TV and says, well, you know, Iran became a nuclear threat at this point. It's too scary. They're threatening to kill us. In a matter of a day or a week or a month, they're going to have nuclear bombs, and they may blow our country up and kill your children and you and your families. So I have just dispatched 712 aircraft to attack Iran, and we have 6 aircraft carrier groups there. You can't do that. Okay, maybe Truman could do that, or Roosevelt could do that, and Trump would likely do something like that. Would it be smart? Yeah. Is Biden smart? What do you think? You know, so he needs to get Iran positioned where he wants them, and Iran is basically playing into his hands. But America's in a snare. Jeremiah 50:24 says Jehovah placed America in a snare, and they're in a snare. They're getting into something that's going to lead to the destruction of America, which is your sleeper agents. And it's going to be followed up by Russia, China, North Korea, and who the heck else. Lots of other countries that hate America will come too. And that's it. But the true believers don't have a thing to worry about. You'll be in Israel. Now, the church people that can't possibly imagine living with Jews in Israel and are completely denying the fact that practically all the prophets were Jews and the apostles are all Jews and Yeshua's a Jew. They just don't know how to deal with that. They just don't like it. They like having a non-Jewish religion, and that's why they have another Jesus, and they have another gospel, and they have another spirit, and that's 2 Corinthians 11:4, and that's America. That's America. That's the churches in America and South Korea and in Europe and in South America. They're all the same. And this is all going to go down real soon. All the nations that he scattered the Israelites into are going to be destroyed. It's in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. It's unfulfilled. It's associated with the birth of the nation in a day, which is Zechariah 12:10. And I believe it's in another place too. I could read it to you. Jeremiah 48, I think. I might not have that right. I could find it. Hold on. I got it in my notes someplace. I'll find it. Give me a minute. I think I'll find it. In Jeremiah 51:24, it says the daughter of Babylon, America will do evil in your sight, referencing Israel. Jeremiah 49, verse 16, it says that they're running away. It's something, I believe, near the Jordan River, which is near me. It's Jeremiah 46. I got it now. Okay. I thought it was 48. It's 46. All right. Jeremiah 46, and I think it's 28. Fear thou not, O Yaakov, that's the 12 tribes, my servant. And the word for servant is Ebed, and servants, okay. Saith Jehovah, for I am with thee, for I will not make a full end of all. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. So if he's going to punish Israel, I think he's going to let the heathen nations get away with it. Now I'll read it to you in Jeremiah 30 verse 11. It's almost verbatim. And you should be very concerned why the church doesn't want you to know this. Because the nations he scattered Israel into is about 125 nations. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all heathen nations, Goyim, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So it's in the Bible twice. It's never happened. It can't happen until the next great Exodus, which is the last great Exodus, the last Exodus, because that would mean the finishing up of the scattering of the Israelites into the nations. If it happened 20 years ago or 900 years ago, they would still be getting scattered after the fact. So it doesn't make any sense for it to be that way. So it has to happen after the scattering of the Israelites is over, which is the next great Exodus when they all start coming back. Let me read you about the next great Exodus. It's in Ezekiel 20, verse 33 to the end, you could say. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring, in other words, is the fury on Israel? No. It says that he'll talk to us in the wilderness very gently and coach us back to, coax us or pull us back gently to, it's the nations. You think they're going to want everybody, all the Israelites to go back to Israel? They'll try to stop them. They'll probably try to stop them, but God's got two guys that are not going to let that happen, and their names would be Apostle John and Elijah. And the nations are going to not be dealing with them. You think Elijah and Apostle John will show up and say, some king or dictator and say, "Oh, king, live forever. You're a humble servant. I petition you to please let the Israelites go." No. It's going to be more like, "Hey, schmuck, there's 2 new sheriffs in town, okay? And that's us, not you. Who are you? Who gave you your power and authority? Man, or the demons, not God. We don't recognize any of your power and authority whatsoever. If you want to live through this, send the Israelites out now with wealth and riches, or you will be in the next great barbecue, you and your whole country." And they'll burn them up. That sets the tone so you can understand how it's going to go down. With fury poured out. It's not going to be, "Oh, great king, live forever," like Daniel talking to the king he had to live under. No, it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be, "Hey, schmuck, wake up," okay? That's what's going to happen, okay? And what happens if they call their Secret Service bodyguards to go kill these Elijah and Apostle John, the fire that comes out of their mouth is very likely going to be lightning. Lightning hits them, it's going to maybe make a nice loud noise. It's so bright it'll look white, and it'll burn them up. You get hit by lightning, you're going to be, barbecued, So the word can mean lightning just as easily. So now we're in verse 31. For when you offer your gifts, when you make your sons to pass through the fire, you pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto the day, and shall be inquired of by you. Shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel? As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, I will not be inquired by you, but the evil ones. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that you say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely, serve wood and stone. Want me to give you an example of serving wood? Come to the cross, that old rugged cross, and then there's a wooden cross in the church on the platform, and the people come up there and bow down to it and lay on the floor and cry, and that's idolatry, worshiping wood. And I will show me something like that in the New Testament. Go find it. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries, out of the lands wherein you are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. He's going to destroy all the nations he scattered them into. I mean, this is going to be something, and it's coming any day. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith Adonai Jehovah. Now, it could mean to judge them, act as a lawgiver, but he's going to, let us reason together, I think is more it's going to be. And I will cause you to pass under the rod. Now the shepherd holds the rod when the sheep go into the sheep pen to look at who's going in. He doesn't want goats or cows or, a wolf or any other, animal going in, okay? Just Yeshua's sheep are going in to Yeshua's, the sheep gate, okay? And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah. So some of these, for his name's sake, he's bringing all the Israelites out, okay? And all the true believers that are not of Israelite origin. But he's not mad at the true believers. But some of these Israelites are going to go back to trying to serve Satan. Even though they may have everlasting life, they'll still try to go back to their demons, and they'll go back to their evil ways. Lying, adultery, robbing, and they're going to take the dirt nap in the wilderness and die there. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, go you serve everyone his idols. And a demon is an idol, because it's certainly not a god. And hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you my holy name, no more with your gifts and with your idols. For in my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, this is Mount Zion, that's not there now, it was knocked down by an army many centuries ago. Jehovah will put it back. Saith Adonai Jehovah, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, all of them in the land, shall serve me. There will I accept them. There will I, so they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. They're not going to go around saying, know the Lord, they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. That's Jeremiah 31, around verse 30. I will put my law in their inward parts and give them a heart of flesh. This is what this is. Okay? For in my holy mountain, the mountain in the height of Israel, saith the Lord God, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. They shall all know me from the least to the greatest. There will I accept them. It's in Israel we accept them. That's why I had to be here. And there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things. Yeah, and the churches teach the Lord is dead, right? Okay. I will accept you with your sweet Savior when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will be sanctified in you before the heathen. Arise, shine, your light has come. You're going to glow, emanate forth light, like Moses did when he came down from being on the mountain with the glory of God of Israel. It wasn't Yeshua he was with, it was the glory of God of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for which I lifted up my hand to give it to your fathers. And he's going to lift up his hand again. And there shall you remember your ways and all your doings wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed, and you shall know that I am Jehovah when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, saith Adonai Jehovah. So, for his name's sake, they all get out of the country they're in, but they don't all get into Israel. How long in the wilderness? My guess would be probably 40 days, like Yeshua in the wilderness. Certainly not 40 years, you know. Moreover, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face towards the south, and drop the word. Okay, that's something else. So, that gives you an idea of the second Exodus. Of course, they don't usually teach this. And we also can pick up more on the second Exodus in, I believe, Jeremiah 23. I think we'll start at 5. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. This is his name whereby he shall be called. Jehovah Tzedakah, Jehovah, the Lord, our righteousness, Jehovah, our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that they shall no more say, Jehovah liveth, which brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. My heart within me is broken because of the prophets. All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man, and like a man whom wine hath overcome, because of the Lord and because of the words of his holiness. I think that doesn't really go any more into that. And I think we need Jeremiah 16. We'll jump in. We'll go into Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that it shall no more be said, Jehovah liveth, that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Jehovah liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave to their fathers. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Jehovah, and they shall fish them, and after I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. For my eyes are upon all their ways, they are not hid from my face, neither their lawlessness hid from my eyes. And first I will recompense their lawlessness and their sin, trouble, because they have defiled my land, they have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. This is probably going on since 1948, I'm thinking. O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge, in the day of affliction the Goyim shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely the fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know that my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Jehovah. This is how he's going to deal with the heathen, and he says in another place he's going to deal with them in a way they do not know. It's going to be very horrific for them. Okay, and you're in it. It's well on its way. It's not just starting, it's well on its way. But if you're a real believer, you don't have anything to worry about or be concerned about or anything. You'll be fine. If you're not a real believer, well, you should become one. All right, let me see if I got anything popping up in the chat. Saudi Arabia, not Yemen, quick misleading the people. Why? Because you say so? You don't know what you're talking about. Read Jeremiah 49 carefully, okay? Stop making yourself act like you know what you're talking about when you don't. I quote scriptures, you don't. Someone says I'm full of BS. Again, no scriptures. Okay. So I think I got enough stuff across today. Let me see if we got prayer requests. I have a feeling we don't have any today. Let me see. No. No. Checking my notes. So we'll wait and see what happens tonight. It's a two-way street. We could attack them, they could attack us, or we could attack them and they can attack us together. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. It's worth paying attention to. If something happens, I'll definitely come on with a live stream. So make sure you subscribe. Please hit the like button. It takes you 2 seconds, and it helps. And I like these people coming in with their insults to me, and they help us by interacting. The more interactions, the better it is. So you guys that actually like me, it's a good thing if you come in and just do something in the chat. Just post anything, more interactions helps. And hitting the like button helps. And that's what I got for now. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy, and healing of our bodies. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. Bird is still doing very nicely. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love and share. And I'm out. A little over 2 hours today. Not so bad. Okay, if I catch wind of, more that this is likely going to go down today, I'll post live streams, but I doubt I'll ever get anything like that. But we'll see. Okay, I'm out. Thank you.